once again from PC Butlers, and well, tonight we will basically learn how to play and a brief overview about this game we call Terraforming Mars. So basically, this is a 1 to 5 player game. So yes, there is a solo variant of this game. Um, so before we go into details, let's first see the components of the game. So first, of course, we have the board, and basically it shows us Mars, all right, and the different terraform ratings and um, the tiles together with the cards. So basically, just a brief overview. So we have tons of cards, and these are unique cards. Um, we also have tiles, good for the greenery, the city tiles, as well as some special tiles, as well as the ocean tiles. So basically, the objective of the game is to, well, terraform Mars, and you can do this by doing three things. Basically, you increase your oxygen level from 0 to 14%, and this is tracked using this part, the oxygen. On the left side of the board, we are tracking the heat or the temperature on Mars, and the objective is to increase from negative 30 degrees to a positive 8. And the third is to use up all 9 ocean tiles, putting it on the board, and once all the players finish all those 3 to terraform Mars, the game basically ends. Now, how do you basically terraform Mars? So you can use cards basically, or the different standard projects, but we'll go into that a little bit later. So just to give you an overview, as different players will be using the different corporations, all right? So there is a basic or a beginner corporation, all right? Well, this is recommended as you start or get your first run through of the game, but later on, you will be using the regular corporations. We have 12 of these. So just see, all right. So basically, the corporations would give you the initial credit or the initial money that you will be using for the game, and different effects as well, so that you can use them all throughout the game. Now, there are also, as you can see, different colored cubes, different sizes as well. All right. So this represents the resources for the game. So this represents money. This represents steel. This represents the plants, the energy, the heat, and so on. The bronze represents 1. Silver represents 5, while gold represents 10. All right. Now, as mentioned, each player will be using this player board, their tableaus, and this is used to track your gold, your steel, your titanium production, your plant, your energy, as well as heat. All right. And using your cubes, so each of the players will receive or will use different colored cubes. You will use this to track your your board to increase or to decrease them as the blade goes through.
This is highlight reel for August 1st, 2017.
So there are 3 different cards. Talking about the cards, we have tons of cards, but there are 3 different cards. There are blue cards, all right there. These are action cards. Basically, once you play them, you need to give them an action so that you can use the effects of the cards. The green cards, on the other hand, once you play them, you do the text or you do the effect immediately. Alright? And once you play these cards, blue and green, you put them in front of you. Right? Just like so. Now the last type of card is the event card. Right? So basically these gives you immediate effects as well, but after playing them, you put it face down on the board or on the table. Right? So how does the typical round go for Terraforming Mars? Well, basically you are dealt 2 company or corporate cards and 10 cards as well. All right. So basically, you choose one of the 2 dealt cards. All right, and then you also choose or pick the cards from your initial 10 dealt hand. All right. Now each card that you will choose, you have to pay 3 cost per card that you will draw or that you will choose for that particular turn. So for example, if I choose 5 cards, I discard the rest, but I have to pay this using the resources or the money that you initially have coming from your corporate cards or corporation cards. All right. Now each player would have to start at 20 terraforming rating. This will represent the victory points later on, but at the same time, this also represents the generation or the money that you will receive every generation. All right. Now, so hi guys, this is Carlo with me.
I'm Jomar.
All right, and we are going to review and give a brief
Tutorial
on Terraforming Mars. Alright. So, before we give our tutorial, we will first have a run through or a review on the components of the game.
Yes.
Alright.
So as you can see here, we have set up the board in a sense that you can see most of the things that can be played. Some of them are the tiles that you can place. There's also special tiles and the trackers of the heat and the oxygen. So we'll discuss those in a bit.
Alright. So this is a 1 to 5 player game, and basically everyone gets their own board, their player boards. This is used to track your resources, of course your money.
Yes, also and also your production.
Of steel, titanium, plant energy, as well as heat. All of these you will be using them for purchasing cards, increasing terraform ratings, increasing heat.
Yes.
Placing tiles, greeneries, and all.
And more on that later. So each player, they would receive a couple of these crystal cubes. They would go on top of your player board, just like this. So you would place it on your player board to monitor the track on your current resource, and also you also put a cube on the VP marker on the or the rather the terraform rating.
Yep.
This is actually pretty important because this is the a scoring game, a VP
Yep.
game. Okay, and also the beginning of the game, you can see here that there are lots of cards. There are about 200 plus cards. All of the cards are unique,
Yep.
as you can see, and there are 3 different cards in the game. So we'll get in touch on what those cards do and what are there for later.
Yep. Um, Briefly, we'll just give you or show you the tiles or the hex. There are different tiles using the game. Since this is a tile placement, no? Basically, this is your city tile. All right, the green ones, and the green ones. These are your greenery tiles. There you go.
Yeah.
And as Jomar mentioned earlier, there are also a couple of
Specialty tiles.
special tiles to use for the game, and of course the ocean tiles.
So sometimes there are certain cards or certain actions that in the game that allow you to place the different tiles. So every time you place a tile on the board, you put your marker, the markers that we showed you earlier. You put it on top of your tile. Each tile scores differently, but there are some tiles that you just have to put because of the card says so.
Yep.
So we will talk about it later when it comes to scoring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we go to the cards,
Yeah.
Joms, I'd like to show.
The currency
Yep. These are the other cubes that
comes
we
with the
use.
game.
These are 3 types of cubes. We have bronze, we have silver, and we have gold cubes. This is used to track the currency, the resources.
Yes.
The bronze represents 1, so this can represent the money, or the steel, or the other resources. Silver represents 5, and the gold is 10, equivalent to 10. All right.
Okay. What else? So we also have this white cubes for the tracking of the oxygen and the heat.
the
And also
temperature.
there's a third white cube that you would use to track when you're playing a solo player, because as we said earlier, it's a 1 to 5 player game.
Yep.
So there's also a solo player variant.
Alright. Now, going to the cards, as Jomar mentioned earlier, there are 3 types of cards among the 200 plus unique ones. So, there are blue cards, as you can see. We'll just show it to our audience. There are blue cards, there are green cards, and orange cards. Alright, so basically the blue cards are action cards. There are specific actions that you can do, or the card can give, and you can use it once, every
On your turn.
on your turn.
On your turn.
Yeah, on your turn. The green cards, on the other hand, this is the, I think, automated cards. They give you an instant effect. So once you play them, you are given a specific effect.
Yeah, it's like, for example, like tile placement, or you gather resource, and after that, after you've used up your green cards, they would remain face up on you.
Yeah.
And then after
front of you,
in
yeah.
front of you. So the difference is with the red cards, when you play them, after the effect, you turn them face down in front of you. So there are some things like, for example, this card, the gene repair card. There is actually a cost on the upper right corner. Yeah, upper right corner of the. So that's what matter. That's what the indication for the red and the green cards, and also for the blue cards, because some of the cards they have additional requirements on how you can play them, on when and also when you can play them. So going to the blue cards, Carlo.
Going to the blue cards, as mentioned earlier, once you play them, similarly, you place it in front of you, face up, and once every generation, your generation, you can use the action indicated on the card. So this gives you a specific effect, such as, for example, this one. All right, I don't know if you can see it, but basically it says,
Yeah.
right there. All right, so basically it says you pay X amount so that you can place an ocean tile. So that is the action that this particular card provides or gives you.
So as you can see, we also have these cards at the side. These are actually the company cards. Each person actually receives a few company cards. For example, sa the beginning of the game, they receive two company cards. So there are lots of company cards to choose from. They
There are actually
determine
12 company cards.
12 company cards. So there are company cards that you can choose from that have special abilities. Some of them have like abilities that make you play styles, or you get bonuses when doing a certain effect.
Yep.
And also the company cards determine your starting
Money or gold.
Your starting gold.
Right. For example, for this particular company, Creditor rather, you start with 57
Mega credits.
mega credits.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
tell me, Carlo, what's this card?
There is also a beginner corporation. All right, so this is recommended for first playthrough of this
Okay,
game. So basically, it just gives you 42 mega credits, or the currency for this particular game. No special effects, no special abilities.
Okay.
But after your first playthrough, we highly recommend, no?
Okay.
That you use the
And I think,
other.
I think that wraps up
corporation.
the components of the game, and we'll get back to you on how to what the scoring is and how to the main playthrough. Thank
Alright.
you. Come back. Here in Terraforming Mars, we are actually companies that we help terraform Mars. So what does that mean? So it means that we are making Mars habitable. So there are three things that we need to accomplish so that Mars is habitable for us humans. So Carlo,
Yep.
can you discuss the things?
All right. So basically, our objective is to, well, number one, increase the oxygen level from 0 to 14%. The second one is for us to increase the temperature of Mars from -30.
Yeah, we don't want to get cold.
Yeah, to a +8. And lastly, of course, we need water to survive. We need to put or place 9 oceans or ocean tiles on the board. There are specific places or a reserved slot for oceans. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there are blue tiles wherein these are reserved for ocean tiles.
So Carlo, how can we raise the oxygen? What are the things that we can do?
All right. Well, aside from using the card's effect
Yes.
to increase the oxygen, every time you place a greenery tile, all right, this will trigger, or this will have an effect on the oxygen. So every time that you place the greenery tile, you will increase the oxygen.
Okay.
And once you increase the oxygen or have an effect or increase the heat or place an ocean tile, your terraform rating will also increase because you have somehow contributed to.
So this is actually a semi co-op game, right, Carlo?
Yeah.
So essentially, what we do is, if we help terraform Mars, we gain the VP.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. So let me place back the tracker. So this is the trackers, right?
Yes.
So what is the so how does the game end?
All right. Basically, the game ends when we have done all, or when we have accomplished all three.
And all three.
Yes.
Okay.
Increase the oxygen, increase the temperature, and we have placed all 9 ocean tiles on the board.
We talked about some of the cards earlier, Carlo. So let's talk about how can we purchase the cards itself, because some of the cards here, as I'm going through this, have lots of interesting abilities that it can help us terraform Mars. So how can we actually get these cards?
All right, for every generation on the first generation,
Yeah, okay.
you are given 10 cards each per player.
So this is randomly given to us.
This is randomly
Okay.
given. This is dealt to all players, and then each player would have to pick or choose among those 10 cards which they prefer. And by doing so, they need to pay 3 gold or 3 credits.
So
Every card.
So that's where the starting gold comes in. Okay.
The gold is very important
Okay.
because it really helps you get the cards and get the cards that you want, and of course casting them or using them.
So what else? So you're talking about this generation. What is actually the generation? What can you do? What can players do during this generation process? So
Well, every generation, basically, aside from getting cards, right? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the first generation you get 10. You get to pick from 10 cards, but for the succeeding generations, you only get 4.
Okay.
Right, 4 cards. Some variants you just get the cards and just purchase from those 4. But others, especially for much experienced gamers, we would recommend drafting or passing the cards.
So you that drafting that you pick one and then you
Pick
pass
one,
the other
pick the cards that you want,
Okay.
place it in front of you, and then pass it
So
to the next player.
then after that we can
Then once you get the 4 cards, that's the time that
we can
you
buy
or purchase what you want or what you need.
So let me get this right. Every generation we get the new cards. Then what else? What else do you get in the beginning of the generation?
Yeah, well, aside from getting the cards, you also get the resources and the credits that you have on your player board. So, for example, if I have a gold mega credit, I will get it plus my my terraform rating. So whatever my terraform rating is plus my board, that will be my mega credit and other resources.
Okay. So what else do we get from the player board? So can we discuss this for a bit? So we can see here that at the top left is the mega credit production, as Carlo said. This is the mega credit production.
Yep.
Plus the terraform rating. Okay. So we get this actually the steel production. So Carlo, can you discuss what's the steel for?
Well, steel is an alternative resource or an alternative way of purchasing or using for the cards, actually. If you can see on your board, there is also an icon, the brown one. These are building cards, such as this one, right there. All right. Meaning, if you use your steel in casting or purchasing this card, or casting rather, not purchasing, casting this card, instead of using 1 mega credit, you can use 1 steel to which is equivalent to 2 mega credit.
Okay.
Right?
So what about this one? This is what?
This is titanium. Similarly, with the steel, if you use space tags or cast
what are space
tags, let's look for some. Right there. Alright, the black star icon. Alright, when you use this card, when you cast this card, you use titanium. Every titanium that you have is equivalent to 3.
3 gold.
3 gold or 3 mega credits.
Yeah. So what about this one? The things at the bottom.
Towards the bottom of the player board, you will see the plants. No, this will for every 8
So this
plants.
is plant production.
That is plant production. For every 8 plants that you have, you can actually trade that or convert that so that you can place a greenery tile on the board.
So like earlier we talked about when you place a greenery tile, you place one of your markers there. So and also increase the oxygen,
Increase
right?
the oxygen.
And what else do we increase? We increase the terraform rating.
And we increase the terraform
okay.
rating.
So this actually improves our score we improve our score, and then improve also our money at the beginning of the next generation.
Yes, that's
okay,
correct.
I'm beginning to get it now.
All right. Another one. This is energy, the purple lightning on the board. Basically, the energy is also very essential, especially some of the cards or many cards, strong cards for that matter, would require energy production or energy itself for you to play them or to cast them.
Yeah, okay.
Now, every energy that you don't use,
Okay.
all right, for your initial generation,
Okay.
at the start of your next generation, it will be converted into heat.
That makes sense.
Right? Now, the heat is essential because you can pay 8 heat.
Okay.
All right? For you to increase the temperature.
This icon here. Okay.
Right.
It's pretty self-explanatory by itself. Okay.
Actually, it's very self-explanatory. The icons may look intimidating at first, but once you get to get the hang of it, it will be very simple.
Yeah.
Even the cards, Joms, basically it tells you what happens or what the effects are.
So I'm okay. Let me cut you there, Carlo. So I've noticed on the player board that some of all of them have 0 to 10, and I noticed here the Mega Card version they have negatives. So what does that mean?
That's correct. Again, similarly, some cards would have effects that would give you negative mega credit.
This one.
Alright.
This one.
Like this one. Alright. The black polar. Right there.
Okay.
Alright. So there are cards that would require you to lower your mega credit.
But why they do that? What's the point?
Well, basically, it's a trade-off. You can trade off sacrificing some of your mega credits, your generation, in exchange of a stronger effect, probably, or a longer effect, which you can use later during the game.
So it means any production I can negative it.
Well, technically not.
Okay.
If,
So there's a certain point. There's a certain.
Yes, for example, if you use this magnetic field dome, it actually requires that you lower your energy production by -2 or -2.
Okay.
If you don't have the number or if you don't have that production, you cannot actually use this card or cast this card. So it's a requirement. And as we mentioned earlier, it is indicated on the card. It is written on the card what you will do or the effects of the card. So it's very self-explanatory.
Okay. So what else? So in a generation, the players take turns, right? So how many actions can we do per turn?
Each player can actually do 2 actions per turn. Once you pass,
Okay.
right, that ends your generation.
So you cannot contribute
You cannot contribute anymore. You
anything,
cannot play any cards. But you have to wait for the players to finish, and once everybody is done, once again you are dealt 4 cards, and then later on gain whatever resources, production that you have, and then we go through another generation of Terraforming Mars.
So how about this one, Carlo? I see this in the board, standard projects. So is this different from the cards?
On the board, there are different sections of the board. There is a standard project. I don't know if you can see this one. It's actually on the left side of the board. So basically, these are additional actions that you can do on your turn. You pay a certain mega credit so that you can do the effect. Alright? So for example, selling a card, you exchange a card, and one card would is equivalent to 1 gold.
Okay.
Alright?
This one,
For power plant, 11 gold. you can pay 11 gold to increase your energy step. So,
Okay.
on your player board.
I think I get some of these items. So if I do asteroid, I pay the 14 gold and
then you
increase the
your-
heat. For example, this one Aquifer. So I pay the 18. I place this the ocean
That's
tile, and
correct.
also by doing this, I help Terraform Mars. I
you increase your
my VP.
Terraform rating,
I
yeah.
Terraform rating. So this one greenery is I place a greenery tile. Remember placing your marker in every tile that you place on the board. Then you raise the oxygen by 1.
Yep.
And this one, city, you pay 25. You place a city tile, so this one is at the back of the greenery tile.
That's
And
correct.
then you gain 1 mega cred production. So Carlo, I'm wondering now, what are the purpose of the cities and the greenery tiles on the board?
Well, at the end of the game, this is counted over and above your Terraform rating, as
Okay.
we mentioned earlier.
So how much VP does a city make?
Alright. Basically, the cities doesn't make any victory points.
So why do I want to play cities then?
But that's a good question, Jomar. For every greenery tile that is adjacent to a city, that is actually equivalent to 1 point. So in this example, you place a city there. There's 2 greenery tiles. At the end of the game, that is equivalent to 2 points or 2 victory points for you.
So I'm wondering now, what if those are not my greenery tiles? So for example, what if they're someone else's greenery tiles?
Well, regardless whether these are your greenery tiles or an opponent's greenery tile, that will be counted as your victory points or your terraform rating.
So how about the greenery
at the end
tiles?
of the game.
What do they score?
The greenery tiles, for every greenery tile that you have contributed or you have placed on the board, that is equivalent to 1 point per greenery tile.
So in this game I have to be systematic about the tile placements on the board.
Yeah.
So what about this ones? I don't know if you can see it. That there are some icons on the board.
Yes, that's correct. So there are icons on the board. I'm not sure if our camera can catch them, but basically there are icons that you can also see on your player board, such as your plants, titanium, steel, even cards. So the concept of this is for every time that you place a tile on that space,
Okay.
you also gain the resource or the card that it shows. So for example, if I place an ocean tile here, I'm not sure if our audience can see it, I will score the point, but at the same time get the number of resources. In this case, 2 titanium.
Okay.
2 titanium, which I can use later on.
Okay.
Right? So there are steel, as I mentioned, titanium. There's steel. There's plants, and cards as well. But not all tiles, Jomar,
Okay.
have bonuses. Some are blanks, but once you gain
Okay.
the resource, nobody can gain that anymore because your tile is already on the board.
Okay.
Right?
So what about this one? The milestones. What are these mean? What does this mean?
So on the board, towards the lower part of the board, there are milestones and awards. Basically, any player can unlock milestones and awards, and these will add to their victory points, their terraform rating at the end of the game.
So they count over your terraform rating again.
Yes, but this will be accounted for at the end of the game.
Okay.
So basically, once you accomplish the milestones, whoever the first one to accomplish and unlock
Okay.
the milestones.
So that's in milestones.
Yes. So for example, Terraformer, whoever the first player to reach 35 Terraform rating and unlocks it by paying 8 gold.
Being equal.
That player will place their color to indicate that they have unlocked the milestone.
Okay.
Now, at the end of the game, this will count as an additional 5 points for them.
Okay.
Alright.
So it's a new way to get points. I also noticed that there's only 3 slots for this. So if 3 players unlock the milestone, no one can unlock it anymore.
That's correct.
Is that, okay.
There are 5 milestones: Terraformer, Mayor, Gardener, Builder, and Planner. Once 3 milestones are unlocked, no other players
So in
can
a game,
unlock it anymore.
we cannot unlock 5 of them, the totality of the
That's
milestones.
correct.
Okay. So what's the mayor? How can you unlock the mayor?
Well, the mayor is the first player to place 3 city tiles on the board.
So if they control 3 cities already on the board.
Yes, in
So
this
it
example.
doesn't matter if the cities are apart or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as that particular player owns those cities,
Okay.
they can now start unlocking Mayor. Gardener, if they placed 3 greenery tiles on the board.
So it's essentially it's the same but for greeneries.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct. For Builder, on the other hand, these are 8 Builder cards or building cards.
So
those are the cards.
So that's the relevance of the one being face down and being face up.
That's
okay,
correct.
Okay.
So the building cards or the building cards are these cards, those with brown symbols on the upper right of the card. And the planner is once you have 16 cards on your hand.
Wow, that's many.
16 cards on your hand, you pay 8, you unlock the planner.
Okay. Right. So about this one, the awards. So these are these similar to milestones?
Similar but in a way different also.
Okay.
Awards gives you just like milestones, additional points
to get points.
at the
Okay.
end of the game. But for milestones, for awards,
So what were you saying about the milestones again? Awards.
alright. For awards, they are relatively similar to milestone, but they in a way different also. So basically, just like milestones, they give you additional points toward at the end of the game. Each unlocks for awards gets higher and higher.
Okay.
From 8, the first one to unlock only pays 8.
Okay.
The second pays 14.
Okay.
And then the last one to unlock pays 20.
So it's semi-beneficial for you to do the unlocking yourself. So why is it that there's a VP for 5 and the 2?
Alright, that's a good question. There are 2 VPs as you can see here. 5 VPs. This is given to the highest among the awards.
So
whoever gets the
Okay.
that particular award and completes it
Okay.
and the highest
Okay.
gets 5 points.
Okay,
The second one gets 2 points.
Okay, so so can we discuss some of the awards itself by
Alright.
what do they mean? So
Alright.
this one, the landlord.
The landlord basically it awards or give extra points to the player with the highest number of tiles on the board at the end of the game.
At the end of the game.
So we will count basically the number of cubes that you own on the tile itself. So this counts your city, this counts your greenery, and as well as the
Special tile. Okay.
Alright.
So for this example, if I was the black player, I'm currently leading in the landlord. So
Yes.
what happens if I unlock it and someone is ahead of me in tiles? What happens then?
So if you unlock it now and you feel that you're ahead, alright, but it's not yet the end of the game.
Okay.
Alright? If the blue player, for example, later on places additional tiles and at the end of the game has more tiles than you,
Okay.
then the blue player can get the points and you get the consolation
If I'm
2
second,
points
it's in the second place.
if you are the second player. Second place.
So not essentially if I'm the one unlocking it, I get automatically get the 5 points, unlike the milestones.
Unlike milestones. That's
okay,
correct.
okay.
That's correct.
So what's this one? The banker.
The second
What is
one, the banker, this is given to the player with the highest mega credit generation.
So it doesn't count the Terraform rating.
It doesn't count the
Okay.
form rating. It's based on
The player board.
the player board. That's correct. The third one, scientist, is basically the most number of scientist tags or science tags rather on the cards that they have. So science tags are these one. Alright, can you see it? I don't think you can see it, but it's the white tag on the cards. Thermalist, the fourth one, is the player with the most number of heat on the board, on their board.
So that's the heat that they did not use.
That they didn't use for at the end of the game. At the end of the game. And for miner, basically, these are the most number of steel and titanium that are not used.
So it's also the leftovers, okay.
It's the leftovers.
Okay.
That's correct.
So the last two are actually pretty good if you have lots of production then.
That's correct.
Okay. So what else? What else do you, how do we, what's the other ways to get VP? Because this is a VP game.
Exactly. Well, aside
So
from
for those at home that does not know what VP is, it's victory points.
yes,
Okay.
because at the end of the game, whoever the highest victory point or the terraform rating actually wins the game.
Okay.
Right? Though we're working together to terraform Mars, well, it's the highest points still wins at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So aside from the tiles and milestones and awards, there are also cards that will give you additional victory points. Alright? There you go. It's the number on the planet Mars. Alright? But as you can see, there are negative victory points also, Jomar. So that will be against the player. Alright? So at the end of the game, any negative victory points will also be deducted from your total victory points.
So I've noticed in one of these cards, I look at this the symbiotic fungus. I don't know if you can see it. This one. It says that action then colon add 1 microbe to another card. So what does that do?
Alright. This gives an effect actually.
Okay.
Alright.
This one.
I think. Alright. So, because there are some cards, aside from giving victory points, there are also cards that will count victory points for every animal or bacteria, microbe on the card.
What do we use that? Do we use these cubes?
We actually use the resource cubes.
The resource cubes.
Yes, the bronze, the silver, or the gold cubes. We'll use that for these cards. Alright?
So, okay. What else? What can we still get for VP?
Well, basically that's it. For the cards, it gives you positive victory points, additional victory points. But at the end of the game, if you have negative VP, it is also deducted from your.
So, by the way, I've noticed something here on the board. What are these symbols that? What does this symbol mean?
All right. So whoever raises the terraforming rate. The temperature, for example, to this, he or she will get actually an additional benefit. So in this case, if you are the one who increased it to negative 24, you will actually get to raise your heat production.
Okay.
Alright?
So what's the difference between this heat symbol and this heat symbol?
Alright.
I noticed that there's a black square, like this one, the power plant. What is
Good question. If you see any brown square on the card, on the board, that means you increase the generation. You don't get the heat. You don't get the resource cube to add to the heat, for example, but you have to increase the generation, meaning the production
Okay,
for
okay.
every generation.
Okay, okay.
Right?
What else? What else? So, is that basically that's it? Is there more?
Basically, that's it. I think we can run through
Our playthrough on the game.
playthrough, yeah, of the game. As mentioned, at the end of the game, we will count the player with the most or the highest number of victory points or terraform rating. This will determine who the winner of the game is. And
May the best terraformer win.
Yeah.
That's it.
Alright, that's
So, thank you guys and have a nice day.
thank you.